What's up, everybody? Chase here, and you're listening to episode 6 of the Chase Doesn't Know podcast. This episode, my special guest is Mr. Luke Zito, a friend of mine from high school days back at Bethany Christian School in Baker. But as of late, Luke is now married, has moved off to live in San Fran. That's the official term if you're outside of San Francisco, apparently. That's what I learned on this episode. He worked at Uber for a few years. His wife works at Twitter. Very cool in the tech world. And he's recently quit his job at Uber and gone back to school. So as you can imagine, I was super curious to talk with him about not only living in a city that you did not grow up in, but working in tech world and creating things with your hands, which he does a lot of. Knives and wood things and beds and closets and welding things in his one-car garage in the middle of San Francisco. So I think you're going to enjoy this episode. I really had a great time chatting with him and hearing his perspective on a number of different things. Thanks again for tuning into this episode. And without further ado, Mr. Luke Zito. Oh, so we're live. Dude, welcome.
All right, sweet. Stoked to be here.
Welcome
man.
to the studio.
The extremely legit studio.
All right, so you're wearing the San Francisco hat.
Oh, yeah, man.
Is this like, did you become a San Francisco Giants fan when you moved, or have you always been?
I am a San Francisco fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I wish that there was a hat that I could wear, something that, because not sure the hat looks fine, but I wear it so I don't have to fix my hair. Like, okay. That's it. Like every day. And when I was working, I'm at school now, and I went during finals week. We have to give presentations and dress up kind of nice, whatever, So I didn't wear a hat, and everyone was like, "Wow, I've never seen you without a hat." So all semester I wore a hat, but I wish there was something that I could do that just represented San Francisco. But I
think that does.
Yeah.
Without the baseball.
Yeah. But it's fine.
Well, people wear like the LA Dodgers hats. And New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. I think it carries for the Giants.
Yeah, I used to have a Yankees hat. I thought it looked cool too, but then I would get yelled at all the time in San Francisco for wearing the Yankees hat. So
yeah,
I got rid of that. But yeah, I wear a hat pretty much every day.
So how many games have you been to?
Probably like 10 or so, maybe in the last 5 years. Going to games is awesome. The stadium.
I've been to one. It's legit.
You've at Giant Stadium?
The one weekend that we were coming to hang out with y'all. And y'all were in Denver. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We went to a baseball game that weekend, and we got the upper deck tickets so you could see out into the bay. And
yes,
stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, it's great. The view is amazing. They have like legit Chinese food, like all these different cuisine, vegan food, of course, like all this stuff, which is super, super cool. Cool. But yeah, it's fun. Going to the games is a ton of fun. I appreciate baseball. I've tried to follow it. Growing up here, football is so huge. Like, dude, There were so many times I would be at parties or something, and all the guys are hanging out, and I'm like, I can't contribute at all to this conversation. And so I've tried a bunch of times to get into football.
Yeah.
And I just never could. And baseball, I think I enjoy more, but they play so many games. I just can't keep up with it.
162.
That's insane. I didn't know it was that many.
162. That's what one of my dreams is to. Actually, one of me and my dad's dreams is to, in one season, see a baseball game in every stadium. So, see the home team play in their stadium once in a season. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Hopefully, I don't know. It will take a lot of money and time to do that.
Yeah.
So I need those two things before we can. But
yeah, dude. That's another thing that's pretty cool is day of games. You can get, even at Giant Stadium, you can get tickets for $10. They're not going to be the best seats, obviously, but I feel like if you do it right, but you wouldn't be able to plan a cross country, around the country trip doing it that way,
Yeah.
I don't know. You may be able to, though.
Maybe. There's 30, well, now I'm going to blank. I think there's 30 or 32 teams. So that'd be you could do it technically, I guess, in a month if you plan it perfectly and drive a lot.
That would be really awesome.
Be intense.
That would be a very intense month.
Yeah.
You'd need a month off after that to just rest before you go back to work or whatever.
For sure. Football would be much more attainable, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no, it wouldn't be because there's 30 teams and they play only 18 games a year. So that would be impossible, I think. Of course, they play Thursday through Monday. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you could do it. Maybe that's something to look at. Someone out there will Google it and figure it out.
Yeah, dude, you got to math that up later.
Message me on Instagram if you know the answer. By the way, what's your Instagram handle?
Luke Zito, at Luke Zito.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Spelled Zito.
That's right. Yep.
So you live in San Francisco, but you're from Baton Rouge.
Yep.
I do like an intro thing.
Cool, man. Cool.
You may or may not have heard.
I've heard.
So like people will know Luke Zito. But so you live in San Francisco. So I want to talk a lot about San Francisco.
All right.
And first question is, why did you move there?
So my wife interned there in 2011, and I had only heard of San Francisco, like the word, but I knew nothing about it. And she interned there, and I probably that summer
Interned with who?
A company called ModCloth. It's an apparel company. Walmart bought them recently, which is like very strange brand thing. Like it's very different than what they were whenever she was working there. But she majored in apparel buying. So she interned there for the summer, and I probably spent 2 or 3 weeks there. Oh, I helped her move, and then helped her like pack up and move back here. And we just both could not believe how amazing it was. Like first day in San Francisco, it was June or July or something here. Record high day in Louisiana. Land in San Francisco, and I had to go straight and buy a hoodie because it was chilly, and
Dang.
I was like, wow, dude, after that I was like, I will live here one day. I will live
Nice.
here one day. And then it just so many other things, from public transportation to she was vegan at the time, and so that was another huge thing for her. This was almost 10 years ago now, so I think it seems like there are some more options in places here in Baton Rouge with that kind of stuff, but there was like nothing. Like people were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Whenever we
what
would
is
ask for
vegan?
vegan options on on a menu or whatever. So that, and just kind of how open-minded and progressive everyone was, just as a whole, we fell in love with it. So she did that between her junior and senior year of college. We came back, and man, since then, or like from that moment on, I was like hurting to move there. Like I would like see a city of the Golden Gate or a picture of the Golden Gate and just get sad. Like, God, man, I want to go there so bad. And we're both super close with our families, and our entire families both live in Baton Rouge or Central, really. But she liked it, but was more, I think, concerned about leaving her family, whatever. And then after a couple years or something like that, she had another job after she graduated. She got an offer, and I was like, absolutely take it, So we did the long distance thing for like a little over a year.
Oh, so she moved first.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was 2013.
Okay. So she graduated from LSU?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 2013, got a job. She went, and then you went to LSU too, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
went to LSU. I did like my first year at BRCC.
Okay.
This is when I thought I wanted to go to medical school.
I was there for like the first medical class of college, and I was like, nope, not going to medical school.
Dude, I wish I would have made that decision that quick as you did. But yeah, man, I really, was wanting to do that, so I did. I don't even know when I changed my major, but anyway, this is when I was wanting to do all that. But I ended up graduating at LSU.
The same year?
No, so she's a year older than me.
Okay.
And she finished in 4 years. My undergrad took me 5.5 years.
Okay.
To
Not
do.
terrible.
Not terrible, but
Compared to some people. Not
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, you're absolutely right. But I ended up finishing in human resources.
Gotcha.
Very random, but yeah. Then when I graduated, I was working at Apple retail at the time at the Genius Bar, and so it was super easy to go out there. I went and visited, had an easy like test day, and then they just like let me transfer out there, which was super awesome. And then I went out there, worked for Apple for a bit.
Okay.
Then I went to Uber.
So y'all, when did y'all get married?
October 2014.
14. Okay. So you moved out there before y'all got married.
No, I went would visit her, a few times that year that we were apart, and then that's when I did like my testing and just on one of the visits. But I didn't move out there until after our honeymoon.
Okay. Cool. And she was working at Twitter then?
So she actually, like maybe a month or so before our wedding, got laid off from ModCloth. They did they had so many, and I told you their brand is really different. Changed, they went through several huge layoffs. But this one,
Startup life, I guess.
yeah, man, definitely. This one they laid off like 40% of the people. They actually moved her department to LA, and they were like, if you want to keep your job, you can, but we're not going to have pay for you to move or anything like that. So she was like, I'll take severance. And so she came back. It ended up, just like most things, working out just fine. You know, it enabled her to come back and prep for the wedding for longer than she expected. And it was less time for long distance for us. And
okay. So she moved back here for leading.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. She kept the apartment and everything, but ended up coming back. I think she was planning on taking maybe like 3 weeks off or something like that. But she ended up maybe coming back like a month before the wedding or something.
Nice.
And then that was, so let's see, we got married in October. She probably got laid off like July or August or something like that. And then she didn't start at Twitter till January.
Okay.
So we had a couple months of living on retail salary with one person. You know, I mean, her severance was like a month or something like that. You know, so it was a.
And you're living in San Francisco.
Yeah.
On one retail salary.
Yeah.
For like 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah, man. It was an interesting time for sure, you know, but I think it was great to go through and having peanut butter sandwiches and whatnot, you know, the kind of stereotypical stuff. But
how much was your rent? And how big was your apartment?
So our apartment was like the size of Carl's Silverado, probably.
Okay.
About, you know, like
so like slightly smaller than this room we're in.
yeah, basically. And our rent when we moved there was $1,700, I think, maybe
crazy.
$1,800 or something like that. It was a studio
crazy.
apartment. It was actually pretty good size for a studio apartment, but like we couldn't fit a full size air mattress on the ground if somebody was going to come visit, because there was not enough room like outside of our bed, you know. So like people just couldn't stay with us until like a year or so. About a year after we lived there, our closet was just about the size of a full size bed. So I built a bed frame that fit in our closet, and there was a little window in there and everything. So then it turned into like a micro 1 bedroom. Which it would like change our life.
That you rented out to someone.
We should have. That like changed our life, and then we could like have people over, and they didn't have to sit on our bed and eat. You know, like it was really great. But yeah, when we left there, I think our rent was about $1,800 or something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going through all like this timeline stuff because I mean I've been keeping up with you through social media for a few years, but I don't know all the exact time. So you're working at Apple, and then how did she get the job at Twitter in January?
Man, she was interviewing at so many places. That's the thing about San Francisco, is there's so much opportunity out there, and any company that's especially like remotely related to tech, they either are headquartered there or have an office there. But there's also so many brilliant people looking for jobs out there. So, you know, I went out there and even at Apple, the same exact job that I was doing here, when I got there, it was like 5 times harder, and the customers were way more intense, and they were, hey, I need to fix my laptop right now because I just got $3 million funded for my startup, and I'm freaking out, you know, like, and so it's just a whole totally different scene.
Did you get paid more out there?
Yeah, I ended up getting paid like $6-7 more an hour, and it was still nowhere near enough, you know, like, but she just got that job doing a ton of interviews, and it was a sales job. It was like an entry-level sales job, not related to her degree or her experience or whatever, but she's still doing sales at Twitter. Same thing, obviously in a very different capacity, but she's great at presenting and speaking and stuff, and that was a big part of the interview that I remember. She just crushed it and was super impressed them or whatever, and ended up getting that job. And it, like a lot of jobs out there, also you start out as a contractor, so I think companies are a little bit more, it's okay if you don't have the perfect experience, because you know, like if it doesn't work out, we can easily get rid of you or whatever, you know. So she did that. She was a contractor for like 3 weeks or something. They were like, yeah, make her full time. Yeah. Nice. And then she just moved up a ton and stuff since then. But
so when did you start at Uber? And how did you get the job at Uber?
Yeah, so I started there in 2015, about like right under a year after we moved out there.
Okay.
It was a recruiting coordinator position, so super entry level recruiting position.
Just recruiting, like
Yeah,
Other like drivers?
No, so engineers basically. At
okay.
first, when
For
I started,
employees.
yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
for employees at HQ, I was supporting the recruiters that were hiring engineers and data scientists and all that stuff. And I was terrible at that job, dude. It was so it's like a coordinator position. It's all just scheduling. I was like 45 minutes late for the interview.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I was
Nice.
I had a buddy. I had a buddy from Apple in Louisiana. He was visiting there. He was there for work, and I just misread the email. And I saw the end time of the interview and thought that was the beginning time. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm having a beer at a bar with my buddy.
Wow.
I didn't have a car at the time, and they called me, a person named Jasmine, who we ended up being like best friends there. We were like changed teams together kind of a bunch of times. She calls me and is like, hey, you still coming to the interview? I was like, I got it sassy with her. I was like, it starts at, I don't know, 3:45 or whatever. She's like, nope, that's when it ends. I was like, oh man, should I even still come? You know, she's like, yeah, it's fine. And she was great and like super chill. And I told my buddy, I was like, you got to drive me to the interview. So he drove me home. I showered real quick and then he drove me to the interview.
Dang.
And I just got super lucky hitting it off with like everybody that was there. I ended up being like great friends with after, you know, it's just like vibing with the people really well. And yeah, they still hired me for a scheduling position, even though I was late for they
Even though you
couldn't freaking
can't schedule your own
reschedule.
life.
Yeah, dude.
That's hilarious.
And it was, like I said, I was terrible at that job. It was a really, I did that job for a little over a year. And it was a super hard year. Just sucking at your job all day, every day. I was working maybe 75 hours a week.
Wow.
And like every time I would have a meeting with my manager, I was like, I'm probably going to be fired today. Like just to keep up, you know?
Yeah.
And then I ended up, I didn't think I wanted to be a recruiter. It like turned me off from recruiting kind of because a lot of the recruiters were terrible to deal with and whatever. And then my manager had a position open and like they were like, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah, sure. I hate the job, man. I'll chat with her. And she and I also super hit it off, and I loved that job. That's what I did for the last 3 years that I was there.
Okay.
And I loved it for the first like 2 years or so, and then stopped loving it, and that's what led me to quitting and going back to school. But
So what's it like? So I'm super interested in we live in Baton Rouge, and San Francisco is like this, almost like this fantasy land out there. By the way, feel free to like stop. You're talking primarily in this episode, but we do have our Coca-Colas here that we need to partake in. So feel free to let me talk or say that I need to talk, so you can do that.
Cool.
Anyways, but so like we live in Baton Rouge, San Francisco is this fantasy land. You know, it's like tech world and whatever. And then we have all these. Whenever I think about working at somewhere like Twitter or Uber, it's just like completely foreign. So walk me through, as much as you remember, the first day you walked in at Uber, like hired on, you're walking in, you don't know what it's going to look like. What happens whenever you get there?
So Uber has, even now they're building a big office that's going to like share location with the Oracle Arena or like the Warrior Stadium basically. Wow. But right now they're just spread all over the city. There are so many employees. They grew so fast. So the office I was working in was not the cool HQ. It was like a nice place, but it wasn't anything super special. But I walked in, I was a little bit early. My first manager...
Hey, that's an improvement.
Hey, right? Figured I had to do something to make up for it. So my first manager was super awkward, and she like reacted to me being early. She was very unclear about what time I should be there, and she was like, oh, you're here. And I was like, you don't seem stoked about this, you know? And just walked in. It was kind of weird vibes at first, honestly, but then they paired me with the person I was going to be training with, and dude, it was like learning everything in that job is all Google Calendar. And so like really? I have heard of that, but I had never like really used that before. So I was learning all of that and just like taking as many notes as I could, whatever. But the office is like pretty cool, you know, but then free lunch and stuff, free breakfast. And
Sweet.
So it's a cold breakfast or like toast and stuff like that. So I think I went and like made a breakfast and then just started learning and training, whatever, and then we had lunch, which is Twitter's lunch, especially back then, was nuts. Like nuts. Some of the best in the city. I think Google's is probably better.
Yeah.
There are a lot that are better now, but like.
My apologies.
All right, Siri.
Siri. What's up, Siri?
What up, girl?
Apple does not like that you're talking good about Google.
Yeah. But their launch is not. So I was like, as bratty as it sounds, or first world problem, I was like, okay, this is cool, but it wasn't like, it was a free lunch that tasted good, was like pretty healthy,
But
whatever.
you've been hearing about the Twitter lunches from your wife. So.
Yeah, but I had a ton of those, and so it was, pretty standard stuff. But then, so that's first day, is that, and just like super intense learning. I was like, man, I don't think that I'm doing the right job. But I was like feeling a little overwhelmed, but also very excited.
So your job, the first job that you were doing there for like a year was the recruiting and stuff. So you're recruiting, or you were helping recruit employees to the company, and then like what all are you doing day to day to help do that?
Scheduling. That's all I was doing.
Scheduling like interviews.
Yeah,
and stuff?
on-site interviews. Yeah.
So they just had like thousands of people interviewing every day or whatever.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Like so many, and especially at that time when I started at Uber, there were maybe like 3,000 employees or so.
Okay.
And within that first year, we were at like 11,000 or something like that.
Wow.
Maybe a year and a half. I don't remember the exact timelines, but
2015.
Yeah,
Okay.
but what I do remember for sure, when I left 4 years later, well over 20,000.
That's nuts.
Yeah, man. So
Dang.
all those people got to interview, you know,
right.
and so
So the department that you were in was every single employee that came to Uber went through that department.
yeah,
No matter the position, they just.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is like that whole thing was broken up. There's like tech, and I was in the tech group. But whenever I started being a recruiter, a full cycle recruiter, I did that in operations. So then I was hiring customer support people, basically.
Okay.
And then
So you were like conducting interviews and stuff.
yeah, mhm.
Nice,
Yeah,
okay.
but in the first job I wasn't. The
Right,
first job I
right.
was barely talk to people. It was just so not me, man. You know, like
right.
just barely talking to people and just being super proficient and organized. And I mean, I told y'all before we got started, like I have no concept of time, and that includes schedules and planning and
Yeah.
stuff. Like I just like to do stuff when it happens and whatever, like just not the right job.
Well, you were 20 minutes late to this interview. No, I'm
Hey,
just
there we go.
I'm just you were early, for the record.
Nice.
So you had, okay, so I just can't imagine, like, how is one job just scheduling interviews? That's crazy to me.
It's
That's like
crazy,
a lot
man.
That's
And
a lot
there
of
are-
interviews.
There are probably, 30 coordinators at Uber in the U.S., and we were just scheduling U.S. interviews, and
people.
that's not even counting the rest of Uber India, Uber Asia, at
Wow.
the time they had all that. But like, so yeah, it was 30 people's job scheduling interviews.
Dang.
And it's really just, so, our engineers are who interview the engineers, and so they are super busy, and so you got to just make all their schedules line up. And it was like, at first when I got there, I was like, there's got to be some kind of like way I can automate this. I can just like plug in their schedule, and there wasn't. There is now, like they built an in-house tool that kind of automates
Right,
it, but you still have coordinators. Like people don't want to interview, so there are coordinators that got to work with those people and get them to convince them to interview and stuff like that. But that's what a lot of it was, and that's one of the things that I learned, and I think I was able to like rely on my strengths of relationship building and building relationships with the teams. We would each have maybe 5 teams or so that we would work with and schedule interviews for, and so people don't. There's software engineers, and sometimes they're super awesome, chill, like not the stereotypical thing you see on Silicon Valley or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are that, and a lot of them
Really?
don't like talking to people. They don't like interviewing people. They have this job that's super stressful, and they don't get like bonus credits or anything for interviewing or any extra pay, or maybe it'll be brought into like their evaluation, but essentially they're like not really incentivized to do it. So like I said, working, like relying on those relationships and just working with people, negotiating, like doing all this stuff to get people to do something they don't want to do, but they got to do to help their team out was what I enjoyed about that job. And that and the team. I loved the people that I worked with, man. There were a lot of people that came and went, but it was a group of like 5 or 6 of us that said I would absolutely love to be roommates with these people and work with them, and then go home and like all cook dinner together, and then like
Right.
it was just a saving grace, man, to have those people there when I was working this job that I super sucked at and hated and was miserable, and that was one thing that kept me there and kept me sane, you know.
Mm-hmm. So the first interview that you conducted or sat in on or whatever was whenever you transitioned into the next job after a year. Okay.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that like? Going into an actual interview, doing that?
Dude, I was more nervous than the guy I was interviewing.
Right.
It was a customer service position.
Okay.
So it's maybe his first job or second job or something like that. You know, a younger guy, and I'm like, it was a phone interview.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, voice is shaking. Like, I'm like, wanted to tell him.
Was it
like,
one-on-one?
Just me and him.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we used to ask people if it's okay if we do a background check, if they were to get the position, whatever. And then he got he was already very nervous. And this is like towards the end of the interview. And he got real nervous and was like, yeah, man, that's fine. But I did get a DUI recently. I was
Dang.
like, that doesn't apply to this job, I don't think. But like, thanks for telling me, I guess, buddy. But then it just got super awkward because, I mean, if somebody told me that even a month later, I would be like, dude, not a big deal. Don't worry. A lot of people did say things like that. We eventually stopped asking that question, but people would say that. And it's something where once I became comfortable, then I could react to that in a way that made them not feel like an idiot, you know, like, but dude, not my first time, you know, I probably made him feel bad, even worse about it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time we had a script, and as a team, so on the team that I joined, they used to like contract those recruiters out because it's super high volume. You're hiring like
thousands of people.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. And a mid-level recruiter might have a goal of 1 to 3 hires a month or something like that, maybe 5. Our goal was 10 a month as brand new recruiters, but because it was just such a lower level position, lower pay, you know, the interview process was shorter, but it was super high volume. So as a team, we kind of built the whole process, and there was one guy on my team named Eddie who, I mean, basically taught me how to be a recruiter, him and my manager, and they're both just so amazing, and I learned a ton from them. But we had kind of developed like a loose script, which I don't do great at following scripts anyway. I like to just, anytime I give a speech or something like that, I'll get a rough outline, but if I have to follow it, I'll blow it. For sure, I'll blow it, you know? So that was another thing. I was like trying to follow the script too much, and I just blew it. That poor guy. I don't remember his name, but we didn't hire him. No.
Oh, you did not hire him?
No, he did bad even outside of the DUI thing or whatever, you know, like, yeah, it just did not go well.
So you have a script that you're following, and then I guess give me this answer as like the most senior, most experienced you were at before you left. So you have a script that you're following, and you got to get through whatever. I'm assuming you're taking, is it recorded, or are you taking notes on his answers? Or
I was taking notes at the time. It wasn't recorded, but then I would take notes, and good recruiters should be taking notes during all interviews. I stopped doing that after like maybe 6 months of it. And I'll just like remember the highlights and maybe like jot down a couple things or something, you know? But yeah, at the time I was taking notes.
So you're grading him as you go on like, and then, so if it's one-on-one, then what do you do? Like, do you put people in a pool of like, these people advance and these people don't, or do you report directly to the manager at the end of the week? How do you?
Yeah. So it kind of varied depending on, there would be certain locations. So what I was doing in-person customer support. So basically the people I was hiring for my first like year or so of being a full cycle recruiter if you want to drive for Uber, there's this thing called Green Light where they have them all over the country, all over the world really. And you go in, get an inspection, ask questions, whatever. And I was hiring the people that worked there.
Okay.
And so some locations would only need one person. Sometimes they were like, 4 people just quit and we can't even open every day. So like depending on that, you know, if it was the super high priority ones, then if anybody was remotely good, I would just automatically send them I would schedule I would pull up the manager's interview and say, all right, can you go in tomorrow? This time works for them, whatever, you know. Or if it was a little bit more chill, like kind of anticipating we're going to have this need for the season coming up or whatever, then they would, you know, I would work just talk to the manager. These are 5 people I thought did pretty well. Do you like their resume? And just like send them there. It was all just dependent on how crazy that.
Yeah, I didn't even like. I'm just now realizing that when you're scheduling stuff, you're scheduling for. I mean, you could be scheduling a person in this area for a meeting with a person in this like totally different state.
Yeah,
and you're doing that like that makes a lot more sense. But I was just thinking like thousands of people coming into Uber HQ and like interviewing and stuff like.
Yeah, I mean for engineers. So when I was doing customer support, it was all over the place. It's until like the last year or so, then it was all at offices. But yeah, dude, at first it was, I mean, in San Francisco, Uber probably has 7,000 employees or something like that in San Francisco, so all those people came and interviewed at one of the 3 offices. There are probably 10 offices now in San Francisco. And then in like every other major city, there are offices too. And in minor cities too. And stuff, like everywhere. It's insane, the scale. Like,
that's what's I still can't wrap my head around how big the company is.
Dude, I can't either.
And this is Uber, not even the biggest company out there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so nuts, man. It really is absolutely crazy.
So you dealt with the same people every day? Did you say like a team of 5 or something? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it would vary.
Did you get like lost in the thousands of employees, or were you kind of?
Yeah. I see what you're saying now. So no, not really. We had like an internal directory that was like my homepage, basically. I used it all the time. And yeah, I would interact with a certain group of people from, hiring managers that I'm hiring for their locations, never more than like 15 or 20 at a time.
Okay.
And being a recruiter, dude, it's a job you can do 100% remote. Like, it does not matter where your team is located. We were all located there and would like kind of interact, but it was more kind of solo. As far as the other recruiters on my team, I would just see them if like I had a question or wanted to grab lunch or whatever.
Cool. So now I'm curious about the tech stuff. What kind of like tools did y'all use to do all this work?
Yeah, so
or like, did they have any cool like internal things that are like secret and
nothing really super exciting. Like I said, they do kind of automate the scheduling now. It's an internal tool they built. I think it's called Scout, and it's probably like pretty impressive tech stuff, but like as far as a user, it's just like, hey, I need this. And
you
just
click around.
Yeah. It's nothing. One thing I learned when I started working at Apple is, Apple is like the biggest company, the richest company, whatever. Their internal tools are trash. Like, they suck to use. They're very frustrating. They crash, and compared to any app that you use as an end user, as a customer, they're all like, they put so much less of focus on design and user experience and all that stuff for any internal tool that I've used.
That's surprising.
Saying it's trash is probably a little dramatic, but like it's not anywhere near what, like any app that you would imagine that this amazing company that designs all these beautiful, super easy to use apps, they're terrible. And so same with internal apps there. Recruiting softwares are getting better, but most of them are like super old school and terrible. And yeah, so nothing super exciting with that on that front.
So what did you see like the progression of? You said you like learned a lot of stuff while you were there. And you felt like you were not in control for the first part while you were there. So what did you feel like you learned, or think some of the big things you took away from working in an environment like that?
Yeah, I think I think that some of the things I learned, which I feel like I've always had like a work ethic instilled in me, and I'm not gonna always be successful. I've learned I was terrible at school and failed tons of classes, and did this job I wasn't great at, but I'm gonna work as hard as I can, even like not caring for my own personal health or mental health or whatever. Like, I'm gonna push as hard as I can until it's just like I find out this isn't right for me or whatever, and so that was just another exercise in that. And like, hey, like I said, working till 2-3 o'clock in the morning every day, because I didn't want to let people down or whatever, and so I think that, and then also learning like, hey, sometimes it's okay to let people down, especially when I got more than just myself to worry about, there were times there where I would go weeks without my wife and I spending quality time together because I was just focused on working, or we do go to dinner and I'm just on my phone or whatever, So kind of finding my own personal line and what's good for me. And what I found is it's a moving target, and so it's something that I think the lesson I learned is to just stay in tune with yourself and just, especially it's so great having a wife that's amazing and super supportive and helping her, getting her help to check in, and am I being more of a jerk lately or whatever, like that kind of stuff. And that was a huge lesson that I learned too, and trying to what is going to fulfill me. And I think that for a while, or one thing I still struggle with is being fulfilled from external factors is always going to leave you not fulfilled, like pursuing that. And so it kind of taught me how to be fulfilled from how am I treating my wife, how am I treating others, and myself too, so like to pursue this kind of something different than I thought that I would have whenever I got this tech job at the fastest growing tech company ever and all this stuff, and I mean, the job I did was not a big deal. I'm not saying like anything like that, but it was super exciting stuff. But I think, maybe that's probably the biggest thing that I learned from that.
What's the culture like? I want to come back to that in a second, but I want to hear about the culture of like walking into working at the fastest growing startup in history. And is it how did it feel? I guess how did it feel different? If you could explain that from like I don't know, not a run of the mill job, but what I guess I would imagine that same type of job being in Baton Rouge. I could only imagine it being just way more amped up in San Francisco at Uber.
Yeah.
What is it? Did you like detect that, and did you get used to it after being there?
Yeah. So I think the culture when I started at Uber was very different than when I left. But I think like one thing is that another thing I learned from that, and I don't know if this is exactly answering your question, but it's no one is that big of a deal, like that's one thing that I thought before, like, at the time I started, the CEO was Travis Kalanick, and he's, done this amazing thing, had this great idea, whatever. And then you just like see him walking in his goofy red shoes and like looking pissed off, whatever, it's like, he's just a dude that's super stressed and had a good idea and was in the right place at the right time and works hard, and that's kind of, the last thing is what it distills down to is working hard. Like these people work hard and are smart and stuff, but it's just that they're just someone else, that maybe happened to get here several years ago, and maybe they're like a insane millionaire, but they're just working hard and they're just like somebody, So yeah. I think it taught me that, like, which is still something I'll struggle with, if I see like. At my school right now, the director of the program is a guy who designed the first Mazda Miata, and he's like a pretty big deal in design. And sometimes I'll still get nervous when I see him in the hall or something like that, But like then trying to remind myself, like, he's just a dude, I think is one thing that being exposed to all those people in that tech hub or whatever, it taught me is like, yeah, they're just people.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay, so from all of this craziness to quitting and going back to school, which you said that you had struggled with earlier on in life.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, dude, right? I can't tell you how many times I said, that was the last test I've ever taken. I'll never go back to school. I'll never have to study again, But so March of last year, March 2018, we found a new place. Some of our friends were living there, and they were moving out of the city, and we went over to watch their kid before they like babysit their kid while somebody took them out to dinner or something like that. And I just made a joke with them like, yo, if y'all need somebody to take this place off your hands, we'll do it. And they're like, well, we actually, like, the landlord did tell us that if we have friends, they'll only raise the rent a little bit, and this is how much it is, and whatever. And we were like, wait, that could actually work out, And so like it just from a joke turned into actually like moving into this place. And it's by like any small town, or even like in Baton Rouge, it's probably a pretty small house, but it was probably actually like 6 to 10 times bigger than our studio.
Dang.
And there's a garage, which I was super excited about.
So this is an actual house?
Yes,
okay.
It's an actual house.
Right
now
on.
I like if I knock on my wall, I think that my wall and my neighbor's wall are like two external walls that touch each other.
Okay,
but
yeah.
if I knock on my wall, they could hear me.
Got it.
So it's a house. It's in
like,
a
is it
neighborhood.
like one of those typical San Francisco houses like that you see in Full House and stuff?
Oh, the painted ladies.
Yeah.
Nah, it's
Dang,
not very attractive from the outside. It's just
right.
like, but it's a house, you know.
Yeah,
and so, like I said, huge thing with the dude. Our studio was so terrible, man. Like, we didn't have laundry in the building. I had to walk up. We lived in the second steepest hill in the city. I had to walk. I would load up our suitcase with all of our laundry once a week up this huge hill to do our laundry and pay like $20 at a laundromat
Wow.
to do our laundry every week. And it was no doubt, if you ask me what's the worst thing about living here, it was that. Dude.
Doing the laundry.
Yeah, and so there was laundry in the house. There was parking, you know, like all this
Nice.
stuff. And so it was out of pocket, almost double what we were paying before. But Maddie was really established in her job. I was working at Uber, doing all right, you know. And so we had just been saving a ton, like a ton. And so we were able to do it. We have somebody that lives so downstairs behind the garage. There's a room, and that's where the laundry room is and stuff. And so we have one of Maddie's really good friends lives there. So we do have somebody that lives in the house with us, but it's totally separate. Like, I'll go a week without seeing her sometimes, you know.
Dang, cool.
But so we moved in there. This is kind of a tangent, but
we have time to fill.
all right.
Remember?
Yeah, I have hours. We moved into there, and I started. So I've been like kind of into woodworking. For 8 or 10 years or so, and I started building out a wood shop and turned my garage into a wood and metal shop. Though a welder was the second thing I got.
Nice.
But yeah, man, it was great, and I feel
For a while you were like going to some place where you could rent space.
Yeah.
and do it? Okay.
Tech shop is what it was called.
Okay.
It was it's like a shared.
It was like anti-tech though. It was like woodworking and metalworking and
No,
stuff.
dude, they had upstairs was like
Programming and
circuit
stuff?
boards and like
Okay,
all this stuff,
cool.
like soldering, like all this stuff. Like, it was just everything. It was so great. They had 3D printers there and
Nice.
CNCs and everything. It was amazing. It was like, I don't remember how much it was, but it basically worked like a gym. You just go in, use whatever tool you want, you know.
Nice, cool.
And then they went out of business. And I was like
Bummer.
depressed for weeks, dude,
Bummer.
because this was before we moved to our new place, and so I was like, "Wow, this is terrible," you know. But yeah, then we found this place, and I just started building a wood shop, and something kind of clicked one day. I was in the wood shop. I don't even remember what it was. I was trying to figure out how to get a measurement of something, and I'm not like super mathy or anything like that, but like there was something I was trying to figure out. And I'd never seen anybody do it before. Like, it wasn't super complicated, but it was something I've never come across. And so I ended up just like kind of sitting there thinking about it for a while. And I was like, I don't even know fully what I'm going to do, but I think this would be the first step in figuring this thing out. And then I did that first step. And then the second step just made sense and fell into place. And then boom, 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 I figured it out. And dude, I started laughing just like a maniac. I was just like so happy and so
Awesome.
fulfilled, you know,
Yeah.
like, and then
So when was this exactly? This is
probably like mid 2018. Like, I think it was
like in the middle of the night or something. Like, you're
it was
just
probably pretty
laughing
late
in your garage.
Yeah,
It's like
dude.
somebody's walking down the street, like someone's getting murdered.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, cool.
So I did that, and then I started thinking. I was like, this feeling never happens at work, you know. And this is a time that I
interesting.
wasn't hating my job. Like, I hated being a recruiter for the last like 6-8 months of doing it or so, but I was not hating it. I'm still great friends with my manager and great friends with people there, and I think recruiting is a great career, but it just wasn't right for me, you know. So I thought I'd never get this feeling at work, and then I realized it's kind of like if you've ever been to a language or a country that speaks a different language. And now, especially with Google Translate, and you can get data plans in most other countries for like $10 for a month. You know, like so you can get by. You can totally get by. But there's something about whenever you come back or you just have a conversation with someone that speaks fluent English, and there's just this like, it's just easier, you know? And I felt that at work every day is like me being in a different country, in a different language. I have the tools. I can make it. I do this job. I'm not fired, you know? Like,
Yeah.
But it's not, when I come into the shop, that's like I'm speaking English, you know? And that I didn't stop thinking about that for a long time, you know, and I think that I went through kind of ups and downs, and there were times where I would let it get in my head, and I would be at work, and I would believe, like, let that just be my absolute truth. Like, I'm in this language that doesn't speak another language. It's okay if I suck at this job, you know, like, and there would, like, you know, I'll just go through seasons or whatever, but pretty much then is whenever I was like, I got to find something else to do, you know, and I looked for a while, for 6-8 months to find something
you just
different.
wanted something more like hands-on. Like, what were you looking for?
I wanted to use creativity at work, and I think that's why I liked being a recruiter for the time that I did, because you can use it. Learning anything, you can use creativity. You know, you're learning how to multiply. Like, you can make a song or so. Like, you can creatively learn how to do anything. And so, and learning is fun. I'm always learning. Like, I love that. So I think I enjoyed it. But then once you kind of figure it out, the creativity slows down, and there's pretty much, you figured out this is the best way to do this, and this is how I'm not going to do it. And so it's like the same thing every day. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, and it got to a point where I was even looking in going to like trade school, I did some electrical work at my house. I was thinking maybe, and I liked it, you know, so I was like, maybe I'd go do that. Like, and I didn't, it took me a while to figure out that it was creativity. For a while, I thought it was working with my hands or, you know, doing whatever. But then a guy got me to, asked me to refinish some cabinets for him, and that is like still one of the most miserable things I've ever done. So then I was like, okay, it's not just working with my hands that I like. It's something else too, you know, like, and then I, you know, through all of that thinking and self-exploration and figuring stuff out, I was thinking working with my hands is important to me, but also so is creativity. And so that's kind of where I landed, and then I just looked at so many different things, you know, and like I said, I was getting to a point where I was thinking about going to do construction or something, and I just couldn't swallow the pill of making like a third of what I was making, you know, because you start out on a construction site, you're making like nothing, you know, and so. And my manager's manager, the director of ops recruiting for U.S. and Canada, her husband was a contractor. And he is like 50 or something like that. And he heard that I was thinking about doing that. And then the director said, why don't you come over to lunch at our place on Saturday? And Grant wants to talk to you about it, you know, if you're open to it. And I was like, yeah, sure. He's awesome, you know. And he was like, he gave me like 3 hours just giving me advice, talking to me. Sweet. He was like, basically, don't do that. Like, don't do trades, you know? Like, he's like, maybe if you want to go back, like, yeah, you like electrical work, you want to go back to school and do electrical engineering or so, you know? And so I was just thinking about all kind of different things. And I am just forever thankful for that. I started to make him a mallet a long time ago and then school started and I never finished it. But, you know, like, that was also huge for me, having him kind of talk some sense into me, and he was, you know, like, hey, try to make it work as a recruiter. Like, it's a good career. You're at a great company, you know. So that gave me a few more months of trying, but then I found industrial design. And
okay, so so you're saying that you didn't want to leave your job for like a construction job. So instead of doing that and taking less pay, you went back to school and are getting no pay. You're paying.
Yeah.
So so how did you get through the thought process of going back to school? I remember you posted your ID on your Instagram. Yeah. And in the little description, you were like, I went back and forth on this decision for months or whatever. Yeah. And finally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. So I don't remember, honest. Oh, I have all right. So I have a friend. So there's a career called product design. And I mean, that's what it sounds like. But product design can either mean physical products or digital products. And I was at a men's retreat thing with my church, and one of the guys at the church is a product designer in an app. He worked some like data analytics app or something like that. And I was talking to him, and I mean, I knew this was his job. We've talked about his job a ton of times, but he was just like telling me about something he was going through at work. And I was like, oh, product design, that might be something that's interesting. And you get to do creativity. And what is a product designer? Like a graphic designer plus, you know, that's kind of what I thought it was. And so I just took that and I started just researching product design, you know, whatever. And they have a lot of these boot camps in San Francisco, similar to coding boot camps or whatever. They have the product design boot camps, which are for digital product design. So basically to teach you to become an app developer, but not tech, you know, the other side of it. And in that, I also, a lot of the research I was doing overlapped with physical product design, which is industrial engineering. not engineering, industrial design. And I have a friend that I worked with at Apple that did that, who we worked at Apple in Louisiana, and I looked him up, and he had actually was living in San Francisco.
Wow.
Doing industrial design there, and so I asked him if I could take him to lunch or whatever and just hear about it. And there was a school that I was thinking about going to. It's the one that I'm at, Academy of Art University. And I was doing some research on it. He had great things to say about it. I was very strategic though, and I didn't tell him that I was thinking about that school because I wanted his honest opinion, and he said great things to say about it even out, before when I told him I wasn't thinking it. And then I called the school one day, and I was talking to an advisor, and she was telling me what an industrial designer is, the way they think, the way they look at things. And on that phone call, I was driving home from work one day. I had to mute the phone because I was crying so hard because I felt so like this. I was like, wow, you're describing me. You're describing the way that my brain works. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like pretty much from that moment, I was like, this is absolutely what I'm going to do. I still did some more due diligence and research and whatever. And they have I was at a point where I was willing to go back to like a 4-year or more program. And I really didn't want to do that. I mean, I'm 28, so, but they have a master's program where she was like, even to get in, I don't care what your grades were in your undergrad. She's like, show me what you've made, show me your portfolio.
Sweet.
And we'll go from there. And so it's super easy to get into, but the first semester or maybe year, fingers crossed that it's just the first semester, are like very hard to weed out the people that don't belong or whatever,
don't want to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how that went.
So you're one semester in now? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Just finished it. Took 3 classes. It was.
You do not have a job right now while you're going to school?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Don't have a job.
Gotcha.
Which is nuts, man. It is the first time that I haven't had a job since high school.
Yeah.
I went for like a few weeks when I was in my first year of school. I worked at a job where they scheduled me extra hours during final week, and I was like, I quit, and then I like found a job. Then I started working at Starbucks like 2 weeks later or something like that, so this has been really crazy, but it's the first time I haven't had a job since high school, but it's probably the hardest I've worked since high school. Like, I cannot believe how hard this program was, And I think that one was expectations. I thought, my first class was model making, which is like in the wood shop 80% of the time. So I was like, dude, I'm going to smoke this, and not that I'm an amazing woodworker, but there was somebody.
But you've been doing it.
Yeah, dude, I've been doing it. The girl sitting next to me had never used an X-Acto knife to make it, to cut it, so I was like.
She failed out, I hope.
No, dude, she did great,
Okay,
nice. And I was like, so this is going to happen, so for sure I'll be fine, but it was a lot, but it was still, even at the times where I was like, this is so hard, I was like, I'm glad I did this. This is the right thing.
So what was harder, the first year of the Uber job or the first semester of the school?
Dude, that's a great question. I think my instant answer, like my quick answer, is the school, but I think...
Really? The school was harder?
Yeah,
okay. Wow.
But I think because it's more recent, it's the pain is still fresh.
Still open?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting because you like the industrial design. It's like a part of you, but the Uber job was the opposite of you.
Yeah.
But the industrial design semester was harder than the Uber job.
Yeah, I think they were hard for different things too. But I think that first year at Uber was 4 years ago, and I have grown a ton since then and learned a ton since then. So it was cool that I was able to, what I try to do anytime I'm going through anything hard, whether it's just like a tough job or something like that, or a fight with my wife or whatever, any kind of season of life, I try, sometimes it takes longer than others, but I try to say, like, what can I learn here about myself? Like, how could I, and so I think that like being super like brutally introspective this whole time, I feel like I grew a lot, and I don't even, not even necessarily in like the things I learned, which I did learn a ton about design and stuff this semester, but this semester is pretty basic, this first semester, but it's just intense. It's a lot. And so, yeah, I don't know. They're probably hard for different reasons.
How long is the program?
2 years.
2 full year, 4 semesters. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, backtrack some.
Okay.
In Baton Rouge, and you get married. We talked about kind of the first pool over there was her internship, and then your visit. Mm-hmm. What was it? Was it just the visit, and like you enjoyed the city so much that you were like, I'm going to move here, or did it like how did you overcome the whole leaving your hometown, leaving your families, leaving all of your friends, not knowing anybody, and going to one of the most expensive cities in the world without a job?
I think I had it a lot easier than my wife because whenever she interned there, she made a few friends that were still there whenever she got the job offer. So she did have a few friends, but she didn't have a church community. She like tried out a few during her summer, but it just none of them worked out. So she didn't have that. She didn't have. It was just a couple friends. It was like 2 or 3 friends, and one of them was her boss, so they couldn't like really hang out, and so then she went and during the year that I was still here, she was there. She found a great church community. She made a ton of other friends, and mostly from there, some from work. And she did a lot of the really tough legwork. So whenever I got there, I didn't care. I wanted to go. I was like, I'll make friends. I mean, you work with people, especially, at Apple, it's similar to, I don't like working in a restaurant or something, like, your crazy hours, you get off and go,
party
just
with
go
your
hang
coworkers.
out. Yeah, dude, you don't have to be at work till 2 the next day or whatever, so just go party, go hang out, go just have a meal, whatever. Like, so you can develop some pretty great friendships pretty quickly there. And I learned that from Apple here in Baton Rouge. And then, so I wasn't worried about that, but I think also I had it a little easier than she did,
Right.
But yeah, it was basically just that. I mean, there were some things that I always say, like people ask if I had culture shock whenever I went, and I always had way more culture shock coming back than there. And I mean, it is not to get too much into politics or whatever,
Please
but
do.
SF is almost as liberal as you can get, and Baton Rouge is almost as conservative as you can get.
Right.
And so I think it was very cool to see. And I would say, I'm not super into politics, but I would say I'm like in the middle. Maybe now like leaning a little bit more left on things, but like it's all like mainly like the social things, But I think that
that's what most people who are really into politics but don't want to say what they are, by the way. They say, I'm not really into politics, but I'm in the middle.
I feel
So you love politics.
Dude, I don't, man. I really don't. Like, I don't follow any news because it gets me. Here's the thing I feel about it, which I've had a lot of people be like, well, that's a very lazy and passive view on this. But most of the time, I'll read things that maybe a president does or a person that whatever, and I'll get upset. And then what do I do with that? Nothing. Like I might talk to somebody and be mad at someone, like share the anger with someone,
Right.
but then what happens?
Right.
I just was mad for it, and then nothing happened. Like I'm not going to like devote my life to being an activist, and so most of the time I feel like things in it just like get me upset needlessly, and I'm trying to like be a little bit more informed especially for voting and stuff like that, but no, I truly don't know that much about it. I like kind of like intentionally stay away from it for that reason. I've got enough things to be upset about.
I need to move in that direction because I've noticed I don't really talk about politics a lot, but I'll listen to it every day and like listen to podcasts or like mainly YouTube videos, watch YouTube videos and stuff. But it is something that I want to do, but I haven't yet, I guess, generated the self-control to do, is just not involve myself or not listen to political talk and stuff as much. Because I don't know when, like fairly recently, maybe the last few months, I kind of noticed that it's almost like me listening to the politics stuff it kind of feels like I'm in a competition, or like I'm subconsciously in a competition, and I have to like listen to all the political debates. So then whenever I align with one argument, then it's like I'm winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that is not a good thing. So I've kind of noticed that a little bit, and I think that, and I'm curious also if doing a lot less politics and actually doing a lot less phone in my hand looking at social media stuff would kind of free up some, or maybe there's some stress that I'm not really realizing I have, or anxiety or whatever. Anyway, so I need to take some more tips from you on how to ignore, because it's addicting.
Yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely. I mean, my thing is there are so many other things that are so awesome out
Right.
there that like it's not like I'm like, oh,
Like
I want
this
to do
podcast?
this.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah,
No, I'm just
dude.
kidding.
Got these dope podcasts to listen to, like. But I mean, that is one. Like this podcast is fun and easy to listen to. I listen to Rogan and a
Right.
ton of other comedy podcasts. Kill Tony is another one that's amazing. Like all of these podcasts where, I've got some that I listen to that I'll maybe learn a little bit from.
Right.
But a lot I listen to. And so another thing about San Francisco that's kind of weird is like no one has a dishwasher. Like they just there's no room
What?
for them. There's like no room for them.
Really?
And so I'm thinking about installing
This
one
is
in
a
our place.
huge blot for
Dude,
San Francisco.
Right, man? It's
Dishwashers,
crazy.
you have to have dishwashashers.
I know. It's very crazy. But what does this mean is, especially being a student, and Maddie works a ton, she travels a ton, whatever, there'll be times where like I try to do, especially because I'm not working, try to do more around the house, whatever. I will try to, I'll be like, look, as long as you're not like grossed out by the dishes, can you please just leave them? I'll do them after I turn in this assignment tomorrow, whatever, Sometimes I'll have like 2 hours of dishes to do.
Dang.
I'm not trying to listen to a political podcast that's going to get me pissed off while I'm
Right.
doing dishes at probably 2 o'clock in the morning. What I do, I save my comedy podcast. Kill Tony is one that just is silly and you just laugh and, and so it just makes that so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then, dude, YouTube all the time. There's
Oh, yeah.
so much exciting, awesome stuff out there that I'm just, I've like recently as in like the last like 3 or 4 years ago, like gotten super into math, and like there's a YouTube channel called Number File, and they'll just tell you videos about large numbers that will blow your mind because you can't even believe how big a number is, which maybe that means I have a simple mind that my mind gets blown by Graham's number, but like it's cool,
Yeah.
And so there's all this stuff and technology, like I'm super into tools, obviously being a woodworker and welder, and Milwaukee just released this amazing new battery that's like replacing a lot of like gas powered tools that I'll never have a use for a 14-inch concrete saw, but like I'm so stoked about
Right.
this battery technology, that I'm like reading all about it and learning all about it, so like I think being like constantly entertained and curious is kind of helped with that, and just excited about stuff that I just like, just like fun stuff or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know if those tips will help you out or not.
No, I love it. That's great. Okay, so tell me how you navigated. One of the bigger reasons that I was pumped about talking to you was the whole like moving to San Francisco and blah, blah, blah. But mainly like the process, I guess, or like the hurdles of it. I guess one of my fantasies is moving away from all of my friends and family and just going to live actually in New York City. It's like where I want to live.
Dude.
Tori, if you're listening, we need to move.
Dude.
I literally ask her at least 3 times a week, can we move to New York City? And she's always like, no, especially now that we have a baby.
Yeah,
Actually, I think now that we have a baby, maybe that's the perfect time, right?
Yeah, dude.
To
Start a
like
fresh life.
bond as a family and stuff. Anyways, so tell me about how you told your parents that you're moving to San Francisco.
Oh, dude, they knew it was coming, man.
Okay.
Well, since she interned there, the
door was open and they were like prepared. And,
I was very vocal about how much I loved it,
Yeah.
and I think that one thing I'll say is whenever we first moved there, they were of course not stoked about it. Mm-hmm. But one, I would say this. They would say this. I feel like what I'm about to say is disrespectful. So that's why I wanted to give that precursor or
all
whatever.
right.
Like, there's nothing they could have done about it.
Yeah.
And so they knew that. They knew there's nothing they can do about it. And so my parents are great. We have a good relationship. But they're like, well, this sucks, but we know there's nothing we can do about it, Because if they resisted it too much, then I'd be like, okay, I guess we're just not going to have a relationship then, And
Right.
so they ended up, still, they were like, well, you're just never going to move back. And at first we were like, dude, we'll be there for a year tops. We'll be there for maybe
Really?
3 years tops.
Wow,
Yeah. Just
okay.
go there, experience it,
Right.
come back, have a family, whatever, And that was largely because of Maddie. Like, dude, her dad is amazing. He's so great. They have a great relationship. And she was, and her mom too, but like her dad's like a little bit older. And so she, it's something where she just, we all have a finite time, but it's just something that she,
Right,
thought
of course.
about. It was like very, very at the front of her mind. And so that was a big thing that she was like, I don't want to miss out on, on time or whatever. But if it was up to me, I would have never said we're coming. I'm like, dude, I'm going to live there. And like, yeah, if I hate it, sure, I'll maybe come back. But like, I'm not going to hate it. I'm going to love it, And she was like leading let's maybe try 3 years. Let's try, whatever. And I was like, sure, that's fine, whatever, And she's gone through kind of ups and downs or whatever, but the more we're there, the more she's like, I'm down to be here, And it's still, we didn't get to squeeze in it. This trip has been nuts. That time that we're this trip home. But I wanted to go to Gavin's restaurant.
Yeah.
And
shout out Maribo.
Dude, I want to go so bad. I'm bummed.
I went. It's legit.
Did you try the...
Everything was incredible.
The wild boar.
And I'm not
dish.
just saying that.
I believe you, dude.
It was all legit.
I believe you, man.
I hate Brussels sprouts, but his Brussels sprout dish is incredible.
I love Brussels sprouts, so I'm sure I would love it.
The wild boar was like very... So it was like a pasta, and the wild boar was like ground in, and then of course he had I don't even know what the stuff is in there. I mean, it's like I told him whenever I interview him, it's like he's working magic doing this stuff.
Dude, totally.
There's like a bunch of other stuff in there, but it's there's a certain like feeling, I guess, whenever you're eating pasta, Italian pasta or whatever. This is not like that. This is like hearty and thick, and it's warm in your belly type thing. It's not like the Italian sauces as much and stuff.
Yeah.
It was really, and it wasn't like it wasn't gamey, but like because gamey is like the pejorative term. It was not that, but it definitely felt more like earthy, I
Hearty
guess.
Or like, natural.
So it was
maybe
very good.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Kind of like maybe like grass-fed beef versus like regular non-grass fed. So anyway, we wanted to go there, and there's so where is it in?
It's in Covington.
Covington, yeah. So in Covington, it's not Covington. It's somewhere like a suburb of Covington that she's always like thought about moving to, and we were planning to take a day, go to his restaurant and just kind of look around, see is this actually a place that we could see ourselves. So I'm not saying that we'll never move back.
Have you been to Covington before?
Not as an adult. Like I maybe went as a kid before.
I had not been. I had not been. Has she like she's okay?
No.
So you should definitely go. Are y'all leaving tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I know.
Dang, bummer. Sorry, Maddie, that I took your day. I'm sure.
Oh, no, dude. I mean, we talked about it. It's cool. She's staying with my sister right now.
But, yeah, I had not been to Covington either. Sidebar here for people listening. But whenever I went to interview Gavin, I was like, man, this place is like quaint and like nice, and it doesn't feel old, and it feels like things are happening. And then when we went back to eat during the day, it was like a really cool, I mean, I could see myself living there for sure. Nice. It's like a nicer New Orleans.
Oh, what? That's cool. Yeah. There was like a friend that she used to work with or something that had a house out there that she loved, and then they like put the house up for sale, and it wasn't time for us to move back, but she was like talking to them about it, like, do we want to like try and buy this and then like rent it out, like and then it just like didn't end up working out.
Real estate investing,
dude.
Nice.
Listen to a little bit. I wish I would have listened to a little bit of your podcast before that house went for sale. But anyway, but yeah, so since then she's kind of been like, this town seems pretty cool, and so I mean, I could totally like, we were going to go there to see if this is actually a place we could live. So it's still a possibility that will come, and I honestly do think that we will at some point. But like I said, if it wasn't for her, I would come back like once, maybe twice a year, and that's it, dude. And
how many times do y'all come back now?
I mean, I come back like once or twice a year. Okay. But like she comes, she travels for work a ton, and so she will. And she's been trying to like, it's not on the way, but like she recently had a work trip in New York, and she. At the end of it, instead of getting work to pay for her trip back to San Francisco, they paid for her trip here. She spent like a weekend, like 3 days or something like that, and then came back home. So she makes it back. She probably came back like 6 times this year, maybe 7 times this year. But yeah, it's so great, dude. Like I said, I don't think, if it was just up to me, I wouldn't move back.
So, are y'all planning to have kids?
Yeah, we are.
What about when you have a kid?
Dude, all right, so that's the thing. So it's kind of tough in San Francisco, so I went to New York for the first time this year.
Nice.
And if I didn't have my shop, which we got a hookup, like we're still paying a lot, but like, dude, we started kind of looking for places in San Francisco, and a 1-bedroom apartment with no parking is like $300 more than we pay for our house.
Wow.
And that's after the person that we are renting the bottom out to. But essentially we have a 2-bedroom house with parking, with laundry, like all that.
But like no dishwasher.
No freaking dishwasher. I know, man. I know, it's terrible. But so if we didn't have that hookup, dude, I was like, I wanted to look for jobs in New York.
Really?
Like, I loved it so much.
New York is amazing.
It's so awesome.
We should just sit here and talk about New York for a few minutes.
I'd be down with it, dude. But one thing is, dude, childcare is absolutely nuts in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah. And there are people do like nanny shares and stuff. Like You can make it work. You can absolutely make it work.
Is there an app for nanny share?
Probably.
Dude.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, so that's one thing that, I mean, we'll just have to see, you know, whenever we get there. But I think it's something that I'm not too concerned about. You know, we will probably wait till I'm after, like out of school, you know, so we'll be back to 2 incomes and we'll just make it, you know, we'll figure it out. And if we don't, then we'll move back. And that's the thing, man, that I always say to people that are thinking about moving or whatever is, you can just move back. Like the work, you know, I mean, you know, yeah, sure, we're not promised another second or another year or whatever, but like you kind of plan your life like you are, sort of, you know. And so assuming, you know, we're young, we're in our late 20s, early 30s, like move somewhere. And if you don't, then dude, so there are a lot of people that haven't even started their career yet and they're 2 years older than you or whatever, you know, like what's the worst that can happen? You just, I guess the worst that could happen is you could die, but like, you know, like that's always the worst that could happen.
Dude, you're taking a harsh turn here.
Hey, dude, just, I mean, it's the truth. You know,
might die.
Yeah, but you also might die here.
That's what Gary Vee says. You know Gary Vee?
Yeah, I've listened to a little bit of his stuff.
So he says all the time.
You might die?
No, he says you're going to die.
Oh.
So you better do what you want to do.
But, oh, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I love, you know, whenever I'm thinking about doing something or not, obviously there's a ton of other stuff that goes into any decision, but like, I would so much rather do something and it sucked and then just know like, well, at least that wasn't, you know, that wasn't what I thought it would be.
Right.
Oh, well, then wonder how amazing it would have been because your brain will hype it up, dude. And you'll be like, I missed out on the greatest thing ever, you know, but like if you just do it and it's not great, then just go back or whatever, you know, like, so that's what I always say to people that think about moving and what I still like kind of stick to with us. Like, yeah, whenever we have kids, like, we want to do it in the city. We know a lot of people that do, and it's fine. It's, yeah, you don't have as much freedom, whatever, but nobody that has kids does, you know? Like, and if it sucks, it's too expensive, there are no good schools, whatever, then we'll just come back and it'll be fine. You know, like, that's it. Like, so yeah.
Cool. All right, so back to the school. So industrial design, what's like your dream job, I guess, after, or are you looking at a job? Are you looking at doing your own thing? I know you've spent a lot of time in the workshop and stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely. So I think that my dream job would be, so you know Adam Savage from Mythbusters?
Of course.
So he is actually an industrial designer, and he used to teach at my school.
Dang.
Yeah, man. Which, like 13 years ago, like a couple of my instructors had him when they were there. So like, I guess something like he's doing or being a Mythbuster would be like the dream job, you know, or Johnny Ive, you know, like the guy, the design guy at Apple, industrial designer. He recently left Apple to start his own design firm.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And he said Apple will be my biggest client, you know, so like he's still going to be doing a lot of stuff at Apple, but he's also going to design speakers and water bottles and appliances and tools and whatever, you know, and so that would be like a dream job is working at his firm. I think what I'll probably do is there are a ton of design firms in San Francisco that do all kind of different things, you know, and so maybe try and find a design firm, get a job there, and then just work on a few different projects, learn what I like, what I don't like, and then maybe do my own thing. Or I'm not crazy about that idea unless I just found something that was right, you know, but then go work at a company that does that, you know, that focus. Some of the big focuses are automotive. I told you guys, design the Miata toys. One of my instructors is a toy designer. He's worked at Mattel, Hasbro, like all this stuff, you know. And he's kind of been talking about internships a little bit this semester, so that could be really cool. You know, tools, kitchen appliances, whatever, all these. So learning about like electronics, phones, computers, whatever stuff like that. I guess
it could be like, I mean, there's like literally infinite applications.
Totally. Everything has been touched by a designer, you know, at some point. Maybe one company just took that other company's idea, you know, that their designers did or whatever, you know, but like everything has been touched by an industrial designer at some point in some way, somewhere down the road. So I think, yeah, you know, doing something like that, or maybe I would love working at a design firm and changing, you know, working on a project for 3 or 4 months at a time, and then I'm never bored because I'm always doing something new, something different, you know. So I might like that. But
so what are you working on in your workshop right now?
Right now, so when school started, everything pretty much stopped, and we came here the day after I finished the semester.
Oh wow, okay.
So when I go back, everything I'm going to be working on is optimizing my workshop for next semester. That's one thing I love, man. Just like in our apartment, how I made the bed into the closet. I always said, as a woodworker, this is shameful. Like, you use like cheap plywood, like ugly hinges, like all this stuff. But as a dude making stuff, this is one of my proudest things.
Nice.
Because it solved a huge problem. It was, figuring out different things that no one ever taught me. I just had to figure out like how to make these gas struts work because the bed's too heavy for Maddie to lift or whatever. Like all this stuff was.
So gas strut?
So the trunk in your car, like
okay, so like lift the bed up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
So I put a couple of those under it, so the bed would be, so we could lift it, like whatever. Like the first ones I tried weren't strong enough, so I had to get some other ones, and my brother's a civil engineer, but he,
Philip.
Oh yeah, Philip. Shout out Phil. Calling him all the time for physics questions and what if I place this here? All that stuff was so fun. And then dude, all right. So the last year or so that we lived in our apartment, I found out that there are these things that exist, that it's a washing machine and a dryer in one unit.
Okay.
And it'll just wash your clothes and then dry it. And
sounds incredible.
Dude, incredible. And so like there was like 7 hours from the time that I knew that those existed until I bought one. And we weren't doing like great at the time. They're like $1,000. I was like, I don't care. Like the amount of pain that I have from washing.
Yeah.
So then figuring out how do I make this work? I had to like build this extension for our countertop, and like I love figuring out how to make like optimize space. And I'd love to have a workshop the size of a warehouse and just have all the tools I want in it. But I love having a workshop that's a 1-car garage and figuring out how to make stuff. So that's going to be my big thing is I've got a list that's like 6 months long of projects to do, in the
What's
month that I have off. At the top is probably, right now my wood storage is like under the stairs, and I'm going to take it all out, make a rack on the wall, and then just put like a bunch of other stuff in there. And I'm going to make a new workbench. I think those are the things that I will like absolutely do.
Actually, before you leave tomorrow, can you come to my house and build me some shelves for my garage?
For sure, dude. For sure, man.
Carl too, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. That's with my time management. I'm surprised I'm not actually committing to that. Like, yeah, dude, for sure. I can come build you. Yeah.
What time you fly out? Like 10 a.m. or something? So what's more rewarding for you doing like projects in your garage? Is it the do you feel better whenever you're doing it, like grinding it out and after hours and at night and the weekends, or are you working for when you're done, like stepping back and looking at the product?
I think when it's, I like the figuring it out stuff, because that's one thing I kind of learned. There were like several projects in my year or last year or so at Uber when I was in the shop and working on things where I would be working on something, I would lose interest on it and make some kind of excuse why it's a good idea to start a different project, even though this one's only halfway done. And then after doing that several times, I kind of tried to be introspective, like it wasn't like a serious problem, but it was like, I should finish things, and why am I not? And I learned that I like figuring things out, designing them, figuring out how it's going to work. And then I would like if somebody could come in and do like the finishing, all the fine details and stuff. So yeah, I definitely enjoy the designing and figuring out like the first like 70% maybe of the building process.
So are you like a compulsive non-finisher on jobs? Because I've seen you have some stuff, like you finished your knife.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, so dude, finally. It took me like 2 years, but I did, yeah. I wouldn't say it's compulsive, but I think that's just because...
You just like really like the designing of it.
Yeah.
Rather than... So it was probably really good advice from old boy to not go into construction.
Yeah.
But go into the... Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say it's probably only not compulsive because... I've only had a workshop for like 2 years, and so, or no, like a year and a half or so. So like I haven't had enough time to make it a serious problem, and now I'm doing this other thing where like I can't finish anything. I can't start anything really, it would be though.
Right. Okay. So what's your like favorite place to learn stuff? Is it
YouTube?
Okay. Right.
For sure, dude.
Right on,
it is. Sure. I mean, dude, all right. So what was the...
Why haven't you started a YouTube channel? Or have you?
I haven't. No, I think I mean I have a YouTube channel, but it's like me and my freshman year of college, like doing a math video for Bailey, my sister. It's just like a few things like that. But I haven't because, and I got into like photography a little bit, video work a little bit, but
Your drone videos from around the world are legit.
Dude, it's just all I ever wanted to do with that stuff. Thank you. All I ever wanted to do with that stuff is like there was nothing. I think the first time I had this experience was in high school when Miss DeSalvo took us to Costa Rica. That was the first time I'd ever been out of the country, and for sure the most beautiful place I'd ever seen. And I took like a digital camera. This was before phones were really
right.
Because the iPhone. Yeah, it was like maybe the first iPhone was out or something like that. But like cameras were trash, and so I took this like digital camera. I was like, okay, and I took all these pictures, and I came back and was like, this is not a cool picture at all. Like this doesn't look anywhere close to the feeling that I felt when I was seeing this.
Yeah.
So since then, I've always just wanted to. All I want is to, even like partially show like in an accurate way what I saw when I was at this insanely beautiful place. So that was my goal with that. And dude, drones, let's make it so easy, bro.
Yeah,
Like they make it so easy. And yeah, I still spend a lot of time learning different things in Final Cut or whatever. But dude, I mean, I never made any like actual videos in that,
Right.
And I think that I thought about doing a YouTube channel, especially because of how many helped me learn things, how many just brought me, like, Maddie and I have a few shows that we'll watch together, but I might watch 1 or 2 movies a year, and I will watch a few shows a year, but I consume a lot of digital media, and it's just YouTube, like a guy in his garage with not even, I don't have like amazing tools, but not even like, I have way better tools than him, and he's got an iPhone 5 or whatever, and he's making this amazing stuff, teaching thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people, like, and so the idea of having a YouTube channel was very compelling to me. And it's something I thought about a lot, but I'm just so slow at video editing and I just like had no time, it just never worked out.
Now, you could farm that out. If you want.
Oh dude, if somebody came to me and was like, hey, I'm great at video editing.
Carl is wide-eyed. How dare you farm out your editing?
I'm great at video. I want to make a YouTube channel and I like you. Will you do it? I'd be like, yeah, sure, maybe, but like, it's just that. It's that side of things. I never did it.
Okay, so what's the best place you've traveled to?
Dude, I don't know. That's a great question.
Most incredible location. So why don't you list them?
Okay.
There's a few, for sure.
Yeah, sure. So the first time I ever went out of the country was Costa Rica in high school. That was amazing. It was so beautiful, man. Like growing up, family vacations to Gatlinburg, Tennessee and Destin, Florida. That was it, dude. That was the extent of my traveling until that point. In Costa Rica we went like up into the mountains of Costa Rica, which I had Gatlinburg has amazing mountains and is beautiful, but it was like nothing I'd ever seen. So there, I went to Mexico a few times. I never went to anywhere really awesome in Mexico. I was always on mission trips. So then on our honeymoon, we went to Ireland. Wow. And that was incredible,
one day.
Highly recommend.
Nice.
There are so many places to see. I don't love the idea of going back to the same place twice, but we're probably going to go back to Ireland, maybe on our 10-year anniversary or something like that. Like I would move to Ireland, man. Like it's incredible. And the fact they speak English.
Careful. You might actually do it.
Dude, I might. Yeah, man. But the fact they speak English too makes it so easy, And so Ireland there, the next vacation that we went to, I think the next place we went was Italy. I think that was the next like awesome vacation that we went on, and that was incredible too, dude. Like everything.
Dude, how are you gonna pick it? How are you gonna pick your favorite?
Oh, dude, I can't, man. I can't. But that like what you're describing about Gavin's restaurant is like how it's just like something different to it. Every bite of food you take in Italy is that, dude. It's like, how is this plain piece of bread so good and so much flavor? It's just a different experience, man.
What, y'all went to Rome or?
Yeah, we went to Rome. We did, dude. All right, so for both of those places, what we did is Maddie's amazing at planning and like researching.
We need to go over the
stuff.
tips for sure.
Oh, dude. Any of the places we've been, she's probably got like a spreadsheet or a doc or both or any, all kinds of stuff I can share with you. But what we'll do, get there, rent a car, and then just kind of do our own tour around. You do it on your own time. We basically just schedule our hotels and then just go around. Now, last year we went to Vietnam and we did not do that because it's nuts. The traffic is so nuts. So we did
there's no traffic laws.
Oh, dude, I believe it. It is so crazy. I don't know if that's actually true. You're just saying that.
I think I'm just from seeing videos the way they drive.
Dude, it is. It's so crazy. But that was the one that we did tours and stuff. But they're all different. I would say probably Ireland. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Ireland. I think one because we were just married. It was so new and exciting. It was my first time like overseas, you know. I mean, I'd been to Costa Rica. Oh, we went to Ecuador between, I think that was like the second year that we were married. And that was pretty cool. I didn't love it, but it was great. It was awesome. It was really cool seeing, that culture and stuff. But probably Ireland is a place that was my favorite. There were some places in Vietnam that were, there's like been at least one place in any of them, and in Ireland I could live like anywhere that we went, but in Italy we stayed at this bed and breakfast that was like a farm, and it was just like super cool older couple, and dude, if I could just go live there and like help out on his farm and just like stay for free, and I'm helping, like I would do that in a heartbeat, man. You know, like nice. That there was a place in Vietnam that was kind of similar. It was a bed and breakfast. Some dude that was just so awesome would just have it, like it. I would love to just go live there, help him out, be his friend, learn, you know, like learn from him and stuff like that. But probably Ireland, and then Italy and I don't know, Italy and Vietnam was so beautiful, man. Really? Like all of those places had a ton of really beautiful places, but Vietnam was probably the most beautiful stuff I've seen. It was unbelievable, man.
Which one was the video where you were like on the balcony and then the drone flew away and you just saw like this city on the hill type thing?
Yeah, so like it flew over the water.
Yeah,
and like,
out of the water.
That was in Italy. That was in
that one, whenever I pulled that up on Instagram and saw that, I was like, that's legit.
Yeah, dude, that place was breathtaking. That was on the Amalfi Coast.
Okay.
So like the next day we were driving back up, and I like pulled over near Mount Vesuvius and flew my drone around there. Like it was such a cool experience, dude. The videos around Vesuvius were terrible. Like it was like it was like kind of dark, and like but it was still a very cool experience.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So give me some native knowledge of San Francisco. Some local knowledge.
First one probably is the biggest way to say you're tourist is calling it San Fran. Like it's San Francisco.
No one there calls it San Fran?
No one there calls it San Fran. Maybe SF. Some people call it SF if you want to shorten it, but that's
San
one.
Fran. Right.
When I'm walking on the street, I don't make eye contact with anyone.
Okay.
Because it's often going to be someone to ask you for money or something like that, you know, which like there are times I do that, but a lot of times it'll be somebody
for money. Or?
Yeah. You know, I'm not working right now, you know, right. So I got to. No, I'll give people money, whatever. It's not like I'm anti that.
Yeah.
But it's somebody that's like cracked out asking you for money and screaming at you if you don't respond. You know, like there's some pretty intense that watch out for poop on the ground, human poop.
So this is like real stuff.
Yeah, but it's
I've heard all the stories all over the news, and San Fran is a terrible place to live because there's homeless and drugs and
yeah, it's very isolated though. Like it's really crazy. So in San Francisco they have neighborhoods that is kind of like small cities within the city, and and some of them kind of bleed together, but dude, a lot of them is like the worst neighborhood is called the Tenderloin, and they're on almost all of its boundaries. You like cross the street, like you're on the street, there are people sleeping on the street, tents, people doing drugs right there. Like I can't tell you how many people I've seen for real just shooting up, needle in their arm, like whatever. You cross the street and it's like fine, nice area of town, like no one is right there. Like
wow,
it is crazy how divided it stays. And like I said, sometimes it kind of bleeds over, but all of that really bad stuff, it's easy to avoid, you know, unless there are a few venues that I'll go to, you know, have concerts that are in those places, and walk into them, I'm like, man, you got to stay alert, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's really, it can be pretty bad, but overall, like, just pay attention, you know. And
do you carry a gun?
You're good. No, I don't.
Can you even own a gun in San Fran?
You can own one.
Okay.
But I don't think that you can carry one. I think that, or maybe like, it's maybe something to have a concealed permit there. I haven't really looked into it. But I think that's maybe like as difficult as having like a silence or here, you know, like class 3 or whatever, like that kind of thing where I know someone, yeah, dude, so much. I know someone that has a silencer on their rifle here, and it took him like a year to get it. He had an interview with the sheriff, like all this, like maybe it's something like that, you know, like to own one, but yeah, you can have a gun. There's limits on magazines. When I brought mine out there, I had to
So you
get a
did bring it down
smaller
with you.
magazine. Yeah, I have
okay.
it like locked up in a safe. Like I've never like pulled
course.
it out or whatever. I need to go shoot though. But it's the thing. It's like it's kind of like a for emergencies,
Yeah.
more of thing instead of like I just need to be more responsible with it. Or,
So have you had any like sketchy run-ins or whatever, like walking around San Francisco, San Fran? I mean, like, is it a normal occurrence that people are asking you for money and yelling at you?
No, because I just walk around whenever I'm in those areas, the neighborhoods, the sketchy, tough neighborhoods. I don't make eye contact and I look very pissed off. Is what I try to do,
Okay.
and like
Good strategy.
Yeah, like I'm not really like it probably won't be like I kind of sending the message like it's probably not going to be very enjoyable for you if you try to talk to me or ask me, like, and not that I'm like, but. So I have very few interactions now with people, and the main was eye contact, dude. Like it really is crazy how when I accidentally catch eye contact with someone, I'm like, no, like, and sometimes it's fine, most of the time it's fine, but it's just that. So no, man, I haven't had anything really crazy happen, like or. Scary. I mean, like I said, there are times in walking, go to a venue in the middle of the Tenderloin. And then when I'm walking to the Uber or walking to the bus or whatever, it's like, I feel very close to something happening, but like I've never had anything like, and that's the thing. Most of those people are just harming themselves more than anything,
Right.
Like if they do scream at you or whatever, like they're not gonna actually get violent with you. Like you just ignore it and then just keep on walking. And they'll just go away.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I feel unsafe very, very rarely there.
Do you feel more safe here in Baton Rouge or in San Francisco?
Depends on what part of Baton Rouge you're talking
sure.
about.
Yeah. Do you have a car? Do y'all use a car? Do you own a car now?
Yeah,
Two cars or?
No, just one.
Okay.
We share one. So yeah, our first year there, we didn't have a car. And then one of my favorite things about San Francisco, man, is how, so like Yosemite National Park's 3.5 hours away or so. People come from all over the world to see Yosemite. Big Sur you get into Big Sur within like an hour and a half south,
Wow.
and you start seeing this amazingly beautiful stuff. Again, people come from all over the world to see it. Tahoe, Crater Lake's like 7 hours or so, but we were taking like a weekend trip to one of those places or just in the North Bay. Like even before, Napa's amazing, but even before Napa, amazing. Like there's this place called Point Reyes, Drake's Beach is there.
Sausalito.
Yeah, dude.
Been there.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
legit.
Sausalito's great, man.
Yeah.
So all these places, we were renting a car like every weekend, and I was like, man, a car note would be this much or less. If we didn't have it, we at our apartment we just had street parking, so we're like, we'll have to deal with that, but might as well just get our own, and then we just have it for whenever we need it. So. We got a car there and recently sold it and had a truck. And dude, I can't tell you, I got a truck for runs to the lumber yard, metal yard, which I don't do them that often, but it was limiting because there would be a lot of times where, say I'm working on a project and it's 9:00 and I'm like, oh man, I'm short on lumber or whatever. I can't go to Home Depot and rent their truck because they'll be closed by the time, So it was limiting, and I'd been wanting one for a while, So I got a truck earlier this year. It's a small truck. I got the Honda Ridgeline. I love it. But I can't tell you how many people have ridden in my truck that this is the first time they've ever been in a pickup truck. It's
Love it.
nuts, dude. It kills me every time somebody says
Nice.
that. Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's the Baton Rouge in me.
Yes,
Having a
sir.
truck.
Dude, every time, so many times when I tell people I have a truck, they start talking in a country accent, making fun of me. I love it.
Do people say you have an accent? I would say you do not.
Yeah, so not that much, but like you'll be able to hear it whenever I go home. Like whenever I'm here, Maddie's dad, like I said, we're super close,
Linwood.
and he's super country. And I come away anytime I talk on the phone with him, I'll have more of an accent for a day after or whatever, or
Yeah.
It would be really funny whenever I was at Uber a few times. So one of the green light locations I did was in Nashville. And all the time talking to candidates there, so I talk to somebody and then I come off the phone and I go back to my desk and I'm like, what's up, guys? And they're like, what is happening right now? Who are you? Yeah. So it comes and goes, but but overall, a lot of people are, they're like, oh, I didn't hear an accent or whatever,
Right. I have when we go around and do like the nice shows and stuff, I'll they're like California or Georgia or wherever, and they'll come up and like a lot of people because we sell South African knives. So a lot of people are like, you don't sound like you're from South Africa. Where are y'all from? And then I'm like, yeah, we're from Baton Rouge. And literally every person, I want to know if this has happened to you in San Fran, but literally every person who's not from here, I say Baton Rouge, and every single person's like, Baton Rouge. Oh, and
that's hilarious.
And then and I'm like, yep, Baton Rouge. That's right. Not Baton Rouge, but Baton Rouge, yeah. And then they always say that I don't sound like I'm from Louisiana.
Really?
And I always say thank you.
Yeah. Same, dude. Yeah, same. No, people don't say Baton Rouge. Sometimes people will try and say New Orleans. No, you know, whatever. Like
New Orleans.
New Orleans or whatever, you know. But yeah, then they usually are like, I don't hear it. But sometimes I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know if it's who I'm talking to or what I'm thinking about or what, but sometimes people will ask me, I'm hearing a little bit of an accent here. Where are you from or whatever, you know, but more times than not, they're like surprised to hear I'm from here.
I'm just reminded, you mentioned this earlier in our convo about the culture shock. What was the culture shock coming back here to you?
I think at the time then it was a lot of the food stuff. Like I said, whenever we were first there and, you know, my wife was vegan and there are just so many fully vegan restaurants. There are so many, you know, like gluten-free, paleo.
Maddie, I'm not sure how you survive on vegan diet. But.
She's not anymore. So that was one big one. And I think like, I've heard the N-word like 3 or 4 times since I've been here on this last
week. Trip. Wow.
Yes. Okay. And most of them, I don't think any of them were like hateful, you know, like, but they were like a joke where it like blew my mind because I have not heard that word in so long.
I'm sure.
You know, like,
right.
And so that's one, you know, just,
interesting.
So that's a big one. I think just like people, I guess people a lot of times, you know, we'll talk about politics there, but maybe the people I know there I have very like super close friends, sure. But, you know, it's like in settings like our church, our community group, whatever, like it's still even maybe not the most appropriate thing to like always just bring up politics, you know, so like, but I'm back with my family. So they're bringing up politics and stuff. And they have this like, maybe not even like family, close friends will have this like incredibly close-minded outlook on something, and it just kind of shocks me sometimes, you know, like that kind of stuff. I think those are probably the main things. And then like the number of like dentist offices, and I feel like 40% of the businesses in Central are dentist offices. Like or like, you know, it's like stuff like that is like just what is here, you know?
Yeah.
And Baton Rouge has a ton of stuff and, you know, cool businesses, whatever. But that's another one that's kind of crazy is like, how do you live in Central? Like there's like nothing here, you know, like
dude, I do not want to. Yeah. If my dad's listening, I hate Central. I do not.
I don't love
Central.
it either.
Central is nothing great for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you have planned for 2020? Like any big trips or anything?
No.
Just grinding out the school.
Dude. That's one thing. I had a few people come visit, one trip home during the semester, and none of them, for all of that, I only missed one class. But just school this semester was so intense that like I had class Monday, one on Tuesday, and one on Thursday. And so on the Thursday class our semester started on Thursday for some reason. So the Thursday class, I always view that as like the start of the week. But like, so from Thursday to Monday, I'm working on that class, the Thursday class.
Okay.
And then, or I guess as the semester went on, that I'm working on my Monday class. And then all day Monday, I was working on my Tuesday class. And then from Tuesday to Thursday, I'm working on my Thursday class. And like literally, dude, that's all I do. Like would go to school, go to church, we have a community group at our house that we host, and do that 2-3 hours once a week, you know, like, and then do school. That's it. So during the semester, we had trips where I would leave Thursday after class, get back Sunday night before the Monday class. Didn't miss any, but would get behind on homework. And like, I was working that hard just to keep up.
Dang.
And like produce work that I was okay with on a good day, you know, that I'm like, this will do, you know, on a good day. And so then taking 3 days back here, you know, not being able to do that, or having people come in and I'm missing assignment, whatever, like just put me so far behind. So like this semester, I'm being like so guarded about not doing anything during the semester. We are about to get a puppy.
Wow.
So that's something I think
Why would you do that?
Dude, all right, so we wanted a dog for a while.
Okay.
We,
I I'm not anti-dog. I'm just anti-owning a dog.
So it sounds like you're pretty much anti-dog. Like you don't want all dogs to die. You're not like dog Hitler.
No,
like you don't want all dogs
Hitler.
to die,
No.
but you just have.
But
no
I don't
interest
think
in
dogs
one.
go to heaven.
Okay,
And I don't think dogs are worth. Oh, by the way, Carl's sitting here with us, our producer. He just got a dog,
Oh yeah,
and I was like, "Why did you do that?" Like, why
dude,
did
we'll
you
have to
get a dog?
exchange puppy pics later.
I love my dog.
He loves it, dude. He posts pictures. He posts as many pictures of his dog as like my other friends do about their kids. So.
That's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to do a dog Instagram account though. I think. Do you have one? Okay, all right.
he
I'm
doesn't
not going to do a dog Instagram account, but I don't want to trash it too much. If you do have,
I'm glad we could convince
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I didn't know my wife's view on that though, because I follow a lot of dog Instagram accounts now.
you?
Yeah, dude.
Oh gosh.
And so, but I was like, so I like them, but I was like, babe, I don't think I can do it. I don't. And she was like, yeah, we're not doing that. All right, nice. You know, but we've been wanting one for a while. We can have one in our place. I went to a friend's house and they had a super cute like golden doodle or something, you know. And is that what you have? All right, nice. And I was just like, oh, I am getting a dog for sure. I was like, where's your breeder? You know, like we are getting a sheepdog poodle mix. It's called a sheepadoodle. It's like
Sheepadoodle.
it's like a black and white golden doodle basically.
Okay.
So after seeing that dog and doing, you know, and like we have space for it now. We even have like a tiny yard. That's like legit.
You have a yard, wow.
Yeah, dude, it's like legit.
Nice.
Maybe twice the size of this room. Like as wide, you
Not
know,
too
like
bad.
as long as this like wide.
That's probably like I would say maybe 3 weeks, and that yard will be full of poop.
Oh, 100%.
Okay,
Dude.
yeah.
I'm sure.
Another reason not to get a dog, especially in San Fran, in my opinion.
Yeah, and a lot of its poop is going to be on the street, which I'll have to pick up,
Of course.
which was a huge hurdle for me. I was like, I'm not a prideful person, but I was like, I am way too prideful to, in the street, in front of people, bend over and pick up another creature's poop. I cannot get over
I guess
this.
I'm too prideful.
But I'm there now, dude. I don't care. Dude, I am.
You're making
so
the
stoked.
sacrifice.
Yeah, dude. I surprised my wife with it a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was amazing. It was great. But we're getting her like I don't know, a week or so after we get home. But
Cool.
so I've been like hardcore researching dog training, and I might take it to like a little school or something. But I'm assuming outside of school, that'll be like the other thing that takes up a ton of my time.
It will.
Is dog
and it is
training.
totally not worth it.
Dude, I will say I did get I got a ripcord. So if I talked to my sister, she recently got married in October, and they have a dog, and they love dogs, whatever. And I told her, I was like, hey, if we get this dog and it's just terrible, and I hate having a dog in San Francisco, can I bring it to you and you take it? She was like, yep. So
And they're here?
yeah, they're here. So just the next trip home, I would just bring
It
it.
would probably be cheaper to like just take it to the vet and put it down, right?
Dude, you know PETA puts down like
Oh, yeah.
way more dogs than any other
yeah.
shelter. Like
I'm aware.
I was gonna ask if you were the PETA of that. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy thing, but
What?
I almost just like they.
Putting them down?
Yeah. Whenever you made that joke
Yeah.
at first, whatever. I almost commented that on your Instagram post the other day where you killed a deer, #PETA or
Yeah.
something like that. And I was like,
At PETA.
I was like, I don't want to get attacked. You know, like I hear they're pretty vicious. The PETA advocates.
Yeah, they don't care about me. They don't care about me.
No, you didn't get anything for it.
No. I
would
also have
imagine-
another post holding a giraffe leg when I was in South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
And tagged them. But no, they don't care. They don't really care.
I would imagine they have people that just like search for #PETA and just attack people.
I mean, if I was like famous, I'm sure that they would, they would
Yeah.
like hate on me, but I'm nobody. So
Yeah, so that and school.
Dog
the
in
first,
school.
Yeah, dog in school. The first month of the year, like I said, because I don't start until February, or like school doesn't start back till February.
Nice.
So, ton of workshop projects, some stuff around the house, mainly just training that dog,
Training
and then
a dog.
try not to fail out of school.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Did you do good first semester?
Dude, I'm still waiting on 2 grades.
Okay,
and
heard that.
One of them I feel great about. I feel fine about. Like I'm gonna pass. The other one is a class I'm not sure if I am.
Really?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
was the class?
think drawing, which is I'm
okay.
terrible at drawing. But I struggled in that class all semester, and I think I'll be fine. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm stressing.
Is it like technical drawing and stuff? Like
Yeah, it's perspective drawing. So industrial
okay.
design drawing is not to be like an artist. Like it's
Right.
it's just being able to communicate accurately, you know. So you don't have to be amazing, but I think the class is designed poorly, but of course I do because I'm being just bitter about it or whatever, you know, but like it's Yeah, that's all it is being able to draw things in space. This one's in front of that one. This is the size and proportions and stuff.
So how much of your coursework is on computer versus on paper?
So far, dude, I bought a new laptop before, because my laptop, I've just been using the laptop Uber gave me, for the last 4 years, whatever. And so I bought a new laptop, was all whatever, and I've used my laptop like 4 times this semester.
Really?
But this coming semester, let's see, I have drawing 2, materials and processes, which is basically a class in like plastics and manufacturing, and then a design project. I'll probably use it in design projects some, but then the 3rd semester is when I start to get into digital design and 3D modeling and stuff like that. So last semester and next, like very, very little, but at the last, probably 3rd and 4th semester will be a lot of digital work. So,
all right, I want to keep you forever, but I want to go back. This might be like we were talking about dogs and like stuff, but go a little deep, because I didn't ask you earlier. But you, so like moving to a whole different city without anybody, which I guess I played it up a little bit because you said it was easier for you to do. But you're married to somebody who is half of you, and it was really tough for her. And then working at a job that you were terrible, quote unquote terrible at. I'm sure you weren't terrible, but quote unquote terrible at for a year. Why didn't you pull the ripcord and come back after all the tough stuff? So
her job is great. She is such a badass and just like does so well, and so that's one thing that's huge. Even in her first year, she wasn't doing as well as she is now, but still, like, it was great. We are at a different church than we started at whenever we moved there, but we love the church that we're at now. It's not perfect, but we have a great community with that. And I think because of the opportunity is another huge thing.
Just of being in San Francisco, the general opportunity.
Yeah, well, the opportunity, and okay, so I'm not loving this job. It's paying my bills. I'm not getting screamed at or anything. It's not crazy, I still have great relationships with my coworkers and whatever. And kind of like when I was in my first year, after like 2 or 3 months, I was looking for a job like constantly, and I just never found one, which was great because it ended up leading to another where I am today, essentially, but and then whenever I was I don't know what I would do back here, I could be a recruiter, I guess, but I definitely don't want to do that now. And I guess she could do sales is pretty transferable, but she's also doing a pretty specific ad sales at Twitter, which is like how many companies here. I think she's so capable and smart and amazing at all that stuff. I think she could go and to any job that sells things and just
crush it,
run it, dude. And within a week, she could figure it out, and she just learned so quickly. But there's no one doing she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to learn a different industry and then do whatever. So I guess that's one is what will we do when we came back if we feel that it's the right thing to do, or we feel like we're getting to a point where we're going to come back. We'll figure it out. It's definitely possible, but I think that it was easier to say well, I'll find another tech job here, or I'll find instead of I'm just going to go back and do, because if I move back, like I said, I mean, maybe when I was a coordinator, I could have come here and looked for recruiter jobs, full cycle recruiter jobs, but I would just go back to the Genius Bar, I guess. I don't know what I would do, know? And so that's another thing is there are so many jobs. And dude, I would be shocked if there were any even recruiter coordinator positions in Baton Rouge, which I don't want to do that, but that's just an example of there are so many more types of jobs out there and just so much opportunity.
Right. So you think that's the pool you're probably going to be dipping out of when you graduate also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And especially with design, dude. New York is bigger, has more opportunity probably, but not much more, and there are so many design firms, some of the best in the world are there, and like I said, all the tech companies and everything. So that's, I think, kind of the main reason. And if maybe we didn't have our church community and great friends, and it's a very transient city. There are very few friends that we have that still live there from whenever we first moved there. Very few. like 5 or less. It's not uncommon for you to be friends with someone for a year and a half, 2 years, and they move, So that's one thing that's kind of a bummer, and it's hard to build. It was hard to remember how long the relationships that you have now and your best friends that you have now took to build those relationships, Like, I mean, all your best friends are like people you went to like, have been with, for
like
so long. And
most of my life.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And so, with your church and stuff like that, like, so I think that's one thing that I just had to keep reminding us, because it gets discouraging. It's like, yeah, people are super nice out here and cool and whatever, but like there's nothing like being able to just go to your friend's house, chill in there, like fall asleep on their couch while y'all are watching videos on YouTube or whatever, like, and that takes a while to build that like casual family type friendship, but we're building it. And I think if we didn't have that, then we'd maybe have been looking to come back sooner. But that's a huge reason is the opportunity, and then also because we still do have those friendships. Which, dude, every time we come back, we have a handful of friends that are still our lifelong friends. You know?
Right.
But yeah,
what's all right? Leave me with one thing here. What is the biggest? I don't want to say like biggest lesson you've learned, but like what's the biggest nugget that you've taken away to that you would give somebody on how to keep a marriage strong in like all the adversity that you've told me about?
Yeah. I think one is like expect that it's going to take a lot of active work. Like it's a thing where, I mean, we dated for 7 years before we got married, and that sure took a lot of active work, but you kind of go back and be separate. And, at the end of the day, we weren't living together. So, I think the thing, like what I strive for and we strive to do is at the end of the day, no matter how mad we get at each other, whatever, like my goal is to want her to be successful over myself more than I want myself to be successful. Now, I probably do that, 50% of the time on a good day. It's hard, man. It's hard to be that selfless, like that brutally, truly selfless, I think is the key to it, and wanting better for them than yourself, and being able to, I think figuring your communication styles out is another thing that is, we're like, I think have like, I don't know. I mean, we've been married for 5 years, but in the last like year or two have been like really working hard on the communication styles. I want to talk through, I process externally. So I want to talk through it until we figure it out. And sure, I'll probably say some things that I don't mean. I never get like ruthless, but like I'll maybe say some things I don't mean or say some emotional things or whatever. But like I do a good job at like, imagine like a bell curve or whatever, but where I'll get up there, I'll get super mad, I'm yelling, I'm angry, I'm saying stuff I don't mean, and then like I'm like processing it out loud and being like, wait, I don't mean that, I actually want you, and then like and I'm like still sometimes like yelling and saying, and then like still in yelling mood or mode, but then I'm like taking it back to like, wait, I'm just sorry, okay, like, and then like like, and she is more an internal processor. So she wants to, we talk about it and she's like, hey, I don't feel like this is going in a good direction. Why don't we come back to this? And, like, and it's like, it's hard finding that, like, what do we, like, how do we do something that honors both of us? Because we either stay and talk about it or we don't. And so like, we're going to do something that's not great for one of us, and just like, kind of like, I feel like it sounds kind of lame, but like kind of like planning that, or like having like, we would always have these at Uber. I don't know if this is like a like standard term or not, but like a post-mortem. Like after we got in a fight, we've made up, we figured it out. Let's come back. Like what went on there? And then like just talking through it and figuring it out and saying like, how can we prevent this next time? And coming up with a plan of when I'm feeling emotional and not rational, what's a sign I can give or look for or whatever, like, and just that, like just staying in constant communication, I think is and being super honest is another thing that like is so huge. So super honest, like very, very honest, like working, like wanting better for them than yourself. And just communicating and wanting that.
Sweet. Dude, three tips for the price of one. Nice. Dude, Luke, thanks so much for hanging out. Shout out again to Maddie. Thanks for giving up Luke for a couple hours. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming by, dude. Glad that you gave me a little bit of your trip. Glad you made the trip all the way from San Fran just to be on my podcast.
100%, dude. Just for this, bro.
Just kidding. Yeah. Anyways, thanks again, dude. Thanks for doing it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. It's a ton of fun. Thanks for having me, bro.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of my podcast, the Chase Doesn't Know podcast. Huge thanks again to Luke for flying all the way in from San Fran just to be on my podcast. Not really, but thanks for giving up some of your Christmas vacation to chat. I really enjoyed talking with you. Me and Carl are sitting right now in the studio talking about how great and how much fun that conversation was. So thanks again, Luke. If you want to follow Luke on Instagram and see the stuff that he makes, see those epic drone videos that we talked about, like he said, his handle is @LukeZito. And if you can't spell that, you don't deserve to follow him. Thanks again to our sponsor for this episode, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And what's more ethical than putting down a dog that you don't want and killing a deer that you eat with your family?